Have you ever felt it? That quiet hum of exhaustion that lives just beneath the surface of your busiest days. It's not just the feeling of being physically tired after a long week. It's something deeper, a soul-level weariness. It's the feeling you get when you've ticked off every item on your to-do list, met every deadline, answered every email, and yet, as you lay your head on the pillow, a hollow question echoes in the silence. Is this it? Is this all there is? We live in a world that worships at the altar of more. More productivity, more success, more followers, more achievements. We are the generation of the side hustle, the 5-year plan, the optimized morning routine. We are told that fulfillment is just one more promotion away, that happiness is a prize waiting for us at the finish line of our ambition. We chase it relentlessly, believing that if we just build enough, earn enough, and accomplish enough, we will finally arrive at a place of lasting peace and satisfaction. But what if the man who had more than anyone in history already ran this race for us? What if the wealthiest, wisest, and most accomplished king who ever lived built an empire that would be the envy of the world, only to turn around and tell us that the entire pursuit was empty, a hollow chase after the wind? This is the story of King Solomon's burnout. And it's not just an ancient tale. It's a terrifyingly relevant warning for our modern work culture. Before we can understand his burnout, we have to appreciate the sheer scale of his success. This wasn't a man who just had a good quarter. This was a man who redefined the very concept of achievement for his time. When you think of Solomon, you have to think in extremes. His wisdom wasn't just clever advice, it was legendary. The Bible tells us that God granted him a wisdom and understanding so vast, it was as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Kings, queens, and dignitaries from all over the known world made long, arduous journeys just to sit at his feet, to hear him speak, to simply be in the presence of his profound insight. They would bring extravagant gifts, not in payment, but in awe. Imagine having a mind so brilliant that the most powerful people in the world considered it a privilege just to listen to you. Now, let's talk about his wealth. We're not talking about being millionaire rich or even billionaire rich in today's terms. Solomon's fortune was so immense it almost sounds like a fable. Gold was reportedly so common in Jerusalem during his reign that it was considered to be like stones. Silver was of little account. His international trade network was unparalleled, with ships bringing back exotic goods, precious metals, and incredible treasures from the farthest corners of the world. He had thousands of horses and chariots, a palace of unimaginable splendor, and a throne of ivory overlaid with the purest gold. He was, without any hyperbole, the personification of earthly success. And then there were his projects. His ambition was monumental. He wasn't content to simply rule. He was a builder, a creator, an innovator on a divine scale. His crowning achievement, the Great Temple in Jerusalem, was one of the wonders of the ancient world. It took 7 years and a workforce of over 150,000 men to complete. Every detail was meticulously planned and lavishly executed with the finest materials imaginable. Cedar from Lebanon, gold from Ophir, and massive, perfectly cut stones. This wasn't just a building, it was a statement. A monument to God, yes, but also a monument to his own capability, his own grandeur. And he didn't stop there. He built palaces for himself and his queen, fortified cities, established trade routes, and cultivated magnificent gardens and parks. He undertook great works. He did everything a human being could possibly dream of doing. By every single metric our culture uses to measure a successful life, wealth, power, intelligence, influence, accomplishment, Solomon had not just reached the top. He had created a peak so high that no one else could even see it. He was the ultimate success story. He had everything. He did everything. And that is precisely what makes the book he wrote, the Book of Ecclesiastes, so profoundly shocking and deeply unsettling. Because this man, this titan of industry and wisdom, took a long look at his life's work, at his vast riches, his global influence, and his unmatched wisdom, and he opened his journal with these words: meaningless, meaningless, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. That single word, meaningless, is the key to this entire story. In the original Hebrew, the word is hebel. It doesn't just mean pointless or worthless in the way we might use the word today. Hebel means vapor, a mist, a puff of smoke, a breath on a cold day that appears for a moment and then vanishes without a trace. It signifies something that is fleeting, transient, and utterly insubstantial. You can see it, but you can't grasp it. You can't build on it. You can't rely on it. This is Solomon's profound discovery. It's not that his achievements were failures. It's that even in their monumental success, they were made of smoke. They couldn't provide the solid foundation of meaning and purpose his soul desperately craved. And so, the book of Ecclesiastes becomes the journal of his great experiment. He didn't just stumble into this conclusion. He systematically, intentionally, and with his limitless resources, set out to test every possible source of happiness that the world has to offer. He becomes a scientist of the soul, and his life is the laboratory. His first major experiment? Unrestrained, absolute pleasure. He says in chapter 2, "I said to myself, 'Come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good.' And he held nothing back. He immersed himself in wine, not as a drunkard, but as a connoisseur, seeking the joy and laughter it could bring. He built houses and planted vineyards on a scale that would make modern property moguls weep. He designed pleasure gardens, parks filled with every kind of fruit tree, and intricate irrigation systems with pools of water to sustain his personal Eden. He gathered for himself male and female singers. The greatest entertainers of his day were on his personal payroll. He denied himself nothing. He says, 'I withheld from my heart no pleasure.' Anything his eyes desired, he acquired. Any experience the world could offer, he took. This is the ultimate fantasy for so many of us, isn't it? The dream of the unlimited credit card, the endless vacation, the life where no is never an answer. We tell ourselves that if we just had a little more money, a nicer car, a bigger house, or could afford that one perfect trip, then we'd be content. We chase these little bursts of hebel, these little puffs of pleasure, believing a big enough collection of them will add up to a life of substance. Solomon is standing across the chasm of 3,000 years, holding the results of his own ultimate experiment with pleasure, and his conclusion is stark. As I looked at all that my hands had done and all the toil I had expended in doing it, behold, all was hebel, a chasing after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. The high wears off, the wine turns sour, the song ends. The beautiful garden requires constant, back-breaking maintenance. The pleasure itself becomes a form of work, a new to-do list of experiences to consume, leaving him just as empty as when he started, if not more so. So, if pleasure was a dead end, what about the other great idol of our age? Work, achievement, the grind. Solomon was the quintessential workaholic, the ultimate CEO. He was a man of action, a builder of empires. He didn't just inherit his kingdom, he expanded it, enriched it, and secured it. He poured his life's energy into his projects. He oversaw vast logistics, managed international trade deals, and commanded a massive labor force. He was the very definition of a productive and successful man. And this, perhaps even more than the pursuit of pleasure, is where his story becomes a mirror for our own lives. We are taught to find our identity in our work. We're told to build a career, to leave a legacy, to make our mark on the world. We sacrifice sleep, relationships, and our own well-being on the altar of productivity, believing that our accomplishments will give us a sense of purpose that will last. We burn out chasing a sense of validation that we hope to find in our job title or our bank account. Solomon reached the absolute pinnacle of that mountain. And what did he see from the top? Emptiness. He looked at his great toil and said, "So I hated life, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind." He even came to hate his legacy, realizing that everything he had worked so tirelessly to build would one day be handed over to someone else, someone who might be a fool and squander it all. That magnificent temple, that glorious palace, that vast fortune, it was all temporary. It was all smoke. I have to pause and ask you, what is the thing you have been chasing with all your energy, believing it would finally give you that lasting sense of peace and satisfaction? Let me know in the comments below. I genuinely love to read your reflections, because Solomon's experience shows us a terrifying truth. When we make work our ultimate meaning, the burnout isn't just physical exhaustion, it is existential despair. It is the crushing realization that the thing you have sacrificed your life for is as fleeting and uncontrollable as the wind. But surely, you might think, there was one area where Solomon had an unassailable advantage, one pursuit that couldn't possibly be smoke and vapor: his wisdom. This wasn't just another one of his assets, it was his very identity, a direct gift from God. This is what separated him from every other king, every other wealthy merchant, every other pleasure seeker. If work and hedonism were empty calories for the soul, then surely the pursuit of knowledge, insight, and understanding would be the nourishing feast. This is a deep-seated belief in our culture, too. We believe in the power of education, of self-improvement, of life hacks, and understanding the systems of the world. We believe that if we can just become smart enough, self-aware enough, and insightful enough, we can optimize our way to a meaningful life. We listen to podcasts, read books on philosophy and psychology, and follow gurus who promise to unlock the secrets of a fulfilled existence. We chase knowledge as the ultimate tool for control and contentment. So Solomon, the wisest of all, applies this legendary intellect to the ultimate question of meaning. He says, "I devoted myself to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under heaven." He didn't just skim the surface. He explored everything. He studied human nature, the cycles of life, the principles of justice and injustice. He even dove into the dark side, applying his mind to understand madness and folly. He wanted to see the whole picture, to build a complete mental model of reality, believing the answer must be hidden somewhere in the data. He built a library not just of scrolls, but of human experience. And after all his research, after all his deep contemplation, he comes to a conclusion that is perhaps the most devastating of all. He writes, "For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief." This is a punch to the gut. It runs contrary to everything we believe. How could wisdom, the very thing meant to solve our problems, be the source of our deepest pain? Solomon's discovery is this: wisdom doesn't change the fundamental brokenness of the world. It only gives you a high-definition, front-row seat to it. A wiser person doesn't suffer less. They are simply more acutely aware of the suffering that exists. Wisdom shows you the relentless, frustrating cycles of life. Generations come and go. The sun rises and sets. The wind blows in circles, and nothing ever really changes. It forces you to see the deep injustices that run through the world, where the wicked often prosper and the righteous are crushed. It illuminates the sheer fragility of life and the limitations of human power. And most painfully of all, it shines an unbearable spotlight on the one great, unfixable problem that looms over every human life. The one destination to which all roads, whether paved with gold or with dirt, ultimately lead. His name is death. This is the final nail in the coffin of meaning under the sun. Death is the great equalizer. It is the ultimate Hebel. Solomon looks at the world with his perfectly clear, wise eyes and sees that the same fate awaits everyone. The wise man and the fool, the rich man and the poor man, the diligent worker and the lazy sluggard, even the human being and the beast, they all die. Their bodies return to the dust, and their memory fades. He laments, "The wise man, like the fool, will not be long remembered. In days to come both will be forgotten. Like the fool, the wise man too must die." This realization renders all his striving absurd. What good is it to accumulate a world of wisdom if it vanishes the moment you draw your last breath? What is the point of toiling your entire life to build an empire, denying yourself rest and peace, only to die just like the man who did nothing? What good are your carefully laid plans, your 5-year goals, your legacy projects, in the face of the silent, indifferent grave? This is the core of Solomon's burnout. It is an intellectual and spiritual exhaustion born from the crushing realization of futility. He climbed the top of every mountain the world had to offer: wealth, pleasure, work, and wisdom, only to find that every single one of them was a volcano, hollow on the inside, and ending in a puff of smoke. His life, which looked like the ultimate success story from the outside, felt like a cosmic joke on the inside. He had chased the wind and was left with nothing but the ache in his lungs and the emptiness in his hands. And this is the profound danger that our modern hustle culture refuses to acknowledge. It keeps us so busy chasing the wind that we never have to stop and ask where we're actually going. It promises us fulfillment through earthly achievements, while completely ignoring the one reality that will eventually render them all meaningless. This is a dark place, isn't it? If the story ended here, it would be the most depressing book ever written, a manual for despair. It would confirm our deepest fears, that life is a random, chaotic, and ultimately pointless race towards oblivion. Many people in our world live in this exact state of quiet desperation, even if they can't articulate it. They feel the futility of the rat race. They sense the hollowness of their achievements, but they see no alternative, so they just put their heads down and keep running, hoping to outrun the emptiness. But Solomon's journey doesn't end in the shadow of the grave. After dragging us through the depths of his existential burnout, after deconstructing every false source of meaning, he makes a profound and life-altering pivot. He changes his perspective. For most of the book, he has been analyzing life under the sun. This is his key phrase. It's life viewed purely from a horizontal, earthly perspective. It's a closed system, a world with a ceiling, where everything is confined to the material and the temporary. And in that world, his conclusion is correct. Everything is meaningless vapor. But then he lifts his eyes. He begins to look at the same activities, the same life, not from under the sun, but from the hand of God. This shift changes everything. Suddenly, the simple, ordinary parts of life, which he had previously dismissed as part of the meaningless cycle, are infused with a new and divine significance. Listen to how his tone changes. He says, "A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God." Wait a minute. Is this the same man who just said he hated his work? Is this the same man who found no lasting pleasure in his feasts and his wine? Yes, but his focus has shifted. He is no longer trying to extract ultimate meaning from these things. He is no longer chasing food, drink, and work as the goal of his life. Instead, he is learning to receive them as gifts in his life. The joy isn't in the wine itself. It's in the recognition that the ability to enjoy a simple meal with a thankful heart is a present from a loving Creator. The satisfaction isn't found in the finished project or the size of the profit. It's found in the daily process of the work itself, accepting it as the portion God has given you for today. This is the antidote to burnout culture. Burnout culture tells you to find your life in your work. Solomon's wisdom, renewed by God, tells you to find God in your daily life, and then you will find joy in your work. It's a radical reversal. It's the difference between striving and receiving. It's the difference between chasing the wind and learning to feel the breeze on your face with a sense of gratitude for the present moment. This newfound perspective reframes our entire relationship with ambition and achievement. The problem was never the work itself. Solomon was a builder, and God is a builder. Work is not a curse. It was part of the original design in the Garden of Eden, before sin ever entered the world. The problem is when our work becomes our identity. It's when our ambition becomes our God. When we look to our accomplishments to give us the security, significance, and purpose that can only come from our Creator, they will always collapse under the weight of that expectation. They are, after all, only smoke. But when we see our work as a stewardship, as a daily assignment from the hand of God, it changes from a frantic race for glory into a calm walk of faithfulness. Your job is not to build a legacy that will last forever. Your job is not to earn enough to finally be happy. Your job today is simply to do the work that God has put in front of you with integrity, excellence, and a thankful heart. The pressure is off. You don't have to be the wisest, the richest, or the most successful. You just have to be faithful with the portion you've been given for this day. This simple, profound truth is the key to a sustainable and joyful life. It frees you from the crushing burden of having to save yourself through your own efforts. It allows you to find rest, not just when you go on vacation, but in the midst of your busiest week, because your value is not tied to your output. Your identity is secure. And so we come to the end of the wisest man's journal. After all his striving, all his building, all his thinking, he finally arrives at the simple truth that a child could understand. He writes, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." This is it. This is the firm ground in a world of smoke. The purpose of life is not to be found in what you can achieve under the sun. The purpose of life is to know the one who is above the sun, to live in a loving, reverent relationship with your Creator. This is the only pursuit that is not Hebel. This is the only foundation that will not wash away. Building a career is temporary. Building a fortune is temporary. Building a legacy is temporary. But building a life on the character and commands of God is the one thing that echoes into eternity. So, I want to leave you with Solomon's warning ringing in your ears. Don't sacrifice your soul on the altar of a work culture that will never love you back. Don't burn out chasing the wind. Lift your eyes. Find your rest, your identity, and your ultimate satisfaction in the only one who can provide it. And in that place of security, you will discover the freedom to truly enjoy the simple, beautiful gifts of your daily life and your daily work. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content that explores these timeless truths. May you find your rest and your purpose not under the sun, but in the hands of God.